stories for you. So we're talking about artificial intelligence and giving you some stories that are recent and incidents that may or may not get the human fired. And this is about mistakes in AI. So one of the first ones that we're going to talk about is Wimbledon, unforced errors. So Wimbledon is actually using AI in a couple arenas. One was for line calling, and one is for an influencer. So we are actually going to talk about the mistakes for the line judge. So Hawkeye's live electronic line calling system is being used at Wimbledon this year. So they have had a few experiences, but one of those experiences is the one we're going to focus on, which is during a match, the play for this particular match was paused for about 4 minutes as an umpire announced that there was to be a check on whether the AI system was working properly. And what they discovered was that there was human error that affected the AI reliability, and maybe it was not plugged in. And so the AI, the All England Lawn Tennis Club, had to apologize after a Wimbledon official mistakenly switched off the AI line judge technology. This was during a match with, I'm going to butcher the names, but we'll try. Sonia Kartal's lost to Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova in what it was admitted an embarrassing human error. So there is AI, but notice it still has to be there has to be some oversight by humans, and unfortunately the human made the mistake in this particular case. But there were also incidents where players disagreed with what they called obvious errors with this AI system. Another piece to Wimbledon was oops, not that one. There's an AI influencer. Here you go. AI influencer at Wimbledon who actually was getting quite a few followers, so up to maybe about 200,000 followers. And this is actually a digital influencer, not real, to the point where people were liking the post, they were following her, and then she also introduced a sister that also is an influencer, but the account was labeled or documented as an influencer AI. This is an image of that digital storyteller on Instagram. And like I said, they seem to have gotten relatively good feedback and engagement from people. So then our next one is the My Pillow guy. And this one's interesting because apparently, if you haven't been paying attention, most of us have noticed already that the legal industry is gung-ho in using AI, and so they are experiencing quite a few embarrassing issues, and most of them are due to someone who is human not doing their due diligence. And let me see if I can find that. So this particular story made the news because Mike Lindell is involved, and it was back in early July and is about attorneys making mistakes with citations in cases that don't exist. So here you go. Here's the first sentence. That's all we have to really talk about. Federal judge ordered two attorneys representing MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell in a Colorado defamation case to pay $3,000 each after they used AI to prepare a court filing filled with a host of mistakes and citations of cases that didn't exist. This definitely is not the first incident in the legal industry where people have done that. I think what's happening is people just are not learning from other people's mistakes. And it's important to know what's going on in the real world. And if you want to be the cutting edge, the innovator, and you want to use new technologies, you got to make sure all your bases are covered. And one of those things I would do is do a little bit of research on how it's being used in the industry and what are some of the most recent mistakes. I would also check my company's policies and make sure that I am following those policies and I am only using what that company advocates that you can use and follow those rules. That's important. A lot of people aren't doing that. The Wimbledon thing is just AI out in the wild. Everybody wants to use it, and there's just some mistakes, human and machine. My Pillow guy, the legal industry is just not learning from other people's mistakes, and I would bet that some of these companies and law firms are not even aware that their attorneys are using it without following the rules. All right, so now here's another interesting one. Where'd my data go? So everybody is into vibe coding. And so a coder recently indicated in Twitter or X that he lost his database. And so the gentleman's name is Jason. He is using a common program called Replit, and I think that's how you pronounce it. And basically, that system helps with coding, and it didn't go well. If you want to go to the X site and read Jason's experiences, a lot of it is getting resolved. Replit has learned a few mistakes and it has learned a few lessons and is trying to recover and repair those and make the experience better for their customers. So vibe coding is fun, but you definitely have to do your due diligence, and you still have to be a coder to know how to recover and how to check these things. So there's a lot going on with this, but go to the X site and you will know. You'll learn a little bit more from Jason, who has quite a few followers, and I'm sure after this he will have quite a few more. So this happened around July 18th, and like I said, at Replit is trying to help recover things. I think most of it has been recovered, but again, many lessons to be learned. And if you're the coder and you're going through this and you lose your database, whether it be a test environment or a real database that's out in the wild for your customers, that could be just a horrible experience. And then we have one more. I'll fix that for you. So if you go through all of this, you'll learn that as technologies evolve, there are learning curves. And if you're the first person to try something, you're probably going to learn more hard lessons than people who follow after you. One of the things that people are talking about is how AI is taking all these jobs. And if you'll notice, there's still jobs to be had, and there are still human interactions with these, like the My Pillow guy. There are attorneys who are trying to do their work, so they're trying to be more efficient, but they didn't do their due diligence. Wimbledon's trying to make it easier and trying to be more accurate with their line calling, and what happened was the system made some mistakes, but the bigger mistakes were humans. But you still have to have that human oversight, and the human oversight was one of the issues with these unforced errors that we mentioned. So you still have jobs, and maybe people won't see line judges anymore, but I guarantee you there's going to be some adaptation, and people are going to have to pivot a little bit, and so you may not see line judges, but you may see people behind the scenes still monitoring and making sure that the systems work correctly. Where'd my data go? Kind of the same thing. You have experiences where this data system and this program, the AI process, still has a lot to learn, and the actual human being who is the coder still has lessons to learn. He may have been trying to be more efficient, but he wasn't very careful about his backup plans. And then finally, that's where we get to where I'll fix that. All having said all that, there still are people who are going to be called in, asked to help fix things. And that's what happened here. So our last story is I'll fix that for you. So a company turned to AI to cost cutting measures. And then they end up paying a United States lady in Arizona to fix the mistakes. So she ended up coming in and redoing some marketing product that was AI generated. So there was some AI generated copy that a company wanted to use. It proved not to be a good idea, and then they ended up reaching out to a person to fix that. And so this lady, Sarah Skid, who is a product marketing manager, has indicated that she is being hired by multiple companies to fix issues that were created by artificial intelligence. So there's a balance, and as people are learning, you'll find that there will be jobs that are created, there'll be jobs that are eliminated, but probably more so, maybe there's a mix of people might have the opportunity to improve some of their processes, but maybe not so many AI agents out in the wild right now taking everybody's jobs. And so that's really what this is about, is that there's going to be quite a few oopsies. Some of these oopsies will get you fired. So attorneys, they're getting fined, they're getting in trouble, they're getting embarrassed. At this point, though, there have been so many stories. If I worked at a law firm and someone did this and I had a policy, which everybody should have a policy by now, I think those people would start getting fired at this point. And then if you don't have a policy, then I would go to HR and start getting those policies. AI for Wimbledon, there is some winning processes there if you can get technology to make better and more accurate line calls, but you still have to have people in place to make sure that that system works. And then finally, of course, if you are in a industry like copywriting or coding and stuff, there may be opportunities for you to help fix things that have been broken by AI. So don't give up. There's a lot going on. These are interesting stories. Try to learn from them and try to be careful when you use an AI. Make sure that whatever organization you work for has policies that you follow. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.